The things that people think about inmates doing whenever they're locked up, going to the chow hall, the library, exercising out on the yard, this isn't how most inmates spend most of their day on real serious yards active force. What you spend most of your day doing is sitting in your cell every day, especially if you're on lockdown, which you're going to spend as much time on lockdown as off. You see, even whenever a program runs smoothly and everything works like it's supposed to, you're still going to spend about 12 hours a day locked in your cell because those are times when inmates aren't allowed out of their cells. And then in addition to that, there are going to be weeks or even months where nobody comes out of their cell because the cops are investigating an incident. As a result, having a good cellie, somebody that you can get along with, is probably the most important part of doing time on an active yard. I got to High Desert around August of 2002, and I was there for about 5 years until August of 2007. If I had to guess, I would say in that time period, hour for hour, I spent about 4 years locked in a cell and 1 year out programming and doing stuff with other inmates. Having a good cellie is just the most important thing about doing good time. Somebody who can make your time just that little bit easier. One of the best cellies that I ever had was named Wolf. Wolf was an older retired skinhead at High Desert. He was 63 years old. He had committed a robbery. He was a jewel thief and murdered somebody while trying to escape. His brother had told the cops where he was hiding out afterwards, and it was just a constant that Wolf hated his brother. He'd been involved in prison politics for a little while in the 15 years that he'd been down. He'd spent some time on 180 yards. He had a good name. People knew who he was and had a lot of respect for him. But he was retired. He was no longer involved in anything like that. He'd landed at High Desert on B Yard and was just trying to finish out his term quietly. He had a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. Phrases like finish out your term have a strange meaning whenever you have a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. He was going to die in prison, and he didn't bother hoping. I remember whenever he went to the doctor, and the doctor told him that he had a year and a half, 2 years to live because of his heart. Wolf came home and told me about it. He went to bed at 6 in the afternoon that day and pulled the covers up over his head. I don't know if he actually went to sleep or if he cried. I don't know if he quietly wrote a letter to his son that he was always saying he wished would visit him, but that I don't think he'd ever seen. I just know that these are the moments that you share with a man whenever you live in a cell with him like this, and they're deeply private and personal, and it establishes a very close relationship between cellies if they live together for a long time. Eventually, Wolf was transferred to another institution. He had a shoeable offense, meaning that he had stabbed somebody about 2 years prior, and they decided that he was too much of a security risk to finish out his term at High Desert. It was unfortunate. I really liked him. I remember one day they were passing out mail, and I leapt down from my bunk and ran over to pick up my letter because I figured it was from my wife. And I looked at the envelope, and it was for Wolf. It was from his brother. I recognized the name. I handed over the envelope, and I expected him to get angry, curse, throw the letter, but no, he got a smile. He looked at it, opened it up, started reading. Pretty quick, he sat down at the desk and started writing a response, chuckling to himself as he went. And I climbed up onto my bed, and you really try to mind your own business. This is Wolf's business. He doesn't want to talk to me about it, but I have to ask. I lean over, I go, hey Wolf, you're writing your brother, right? He goes, yep, writing my brother, absolutely. Go, hey, isn't that the guy you hate? He goes, absolutely, I hate my brother. I'm going to kill my brother if I ever get a chance. He's a dead man and he doesn't even know it. Hey, Wolf, I'm sorry, man, or I'll leave you alone to write your letter, but you seem pretty happy. Are you telling him to, go to hell or something? You seem pretty relaxed. He goes, Oh, geez, Aaron, I'm sorry, man. I forget you just moved in a little while ago. You don't know about this. I've been reconciling with my brother. I've been trying to convince him things are okay so he'll come visit me. I miss him. No kidding, you miss him? Well, you know, that, and if I'm going to kill him, I'm going to have to get him into the visiting room. It's not like they're going to let me out for a day to go kill him. Wow. I made a little mental note right then. Do not get on Wolf's bad side, because the man is a sociopath. He'll end your life and you won't even see it coming. Which isn't to say that he was heartless or cruel. I remember one time I ended up out in the snow lying on my face for about 15 minutes. The snow can get 3 feet deep at high desert, and Norteño was removed. I'm sure it was a very bad day for him and for the guys removing him too, but the yard went down and the 30 or 40 inmates who were too close to the incident ended up having to lie face down in the snow while the cops strip searched them. It took about 15 minutes. I was one of these inmates. They were looking for the knife which had been used to stab the victim, and they couldn't find it. I believe it had been thrown into a drift of snow. It was an incredibly long time lying there, face first on the ground. The cops don't care about your comfort, they care about security, and understandably so. But you start shivering, you start twitching, you lose muscle control, and you start to go numb. And then whenever they finally come to you and stand you up and expect you to strip search, take off your clothes, stand barefoot there in the snow, it's hard to do. The cops didn't seem to care that I didn't have enough muscle control to effectively do the strip search. They knew they weren't going to find the piece on a white guy. They were just being thorough. I went back to my cell, and my lips were blue. I was shivering. I was really, really cold. And as they opened the door, I looked up, and there was a giant trash bag filled with scalding hot water that Wolf was carefully balancing so that it was touching the blanket and the pillow of my bed without possibly spilling. He knew that I'd be coming home a little hypothermic because I'd been in the snow, and he put this on my blankets so that they'd be warm whenever I crawled into them and I could get my body temperature back up. That is an incredibly kind and considerate thing to do. He didn't have to do anything like that. Which speaks to how complex people can be. It's easy to say, well, Wolf was a sociopath and he was going to kill his brother, and that makes him a bad person. Or heck, he did kill somebody. He was a jewel thief and he shot somebody in the commission of a robbery. That is an incredibly serious crime. On the other hand, you could say good things about him. You could say, well, you know, he was a solid guy with a good name. People liked him. He's a good dude. Whenever I was cold, he helped get me warm. He was my cellie for years. He was a good guy. I liked him. So which is it? Is he a bad man or a good man? And of course, it's not that simple. Nobody is one thing. We love to just assign simple labels to people. The guy who cut you off on the way home is just some jerk who cut you off. And you're a good person who works hard. In reality, we are all very complex people. The guy who cut you off might have 100 other things that we don't know about him. Maybe he's a sociopath. Maybe he's a kind guy who makes sure that his friends aren't cold. It's so easy to just put people into a little box and think you know everything about them. But the moment that you do that, what you make sure is true is that there are things that you don't know about them that you won't learn. So as you go through life and interact with people, keep an open mind. Don't judge a book by its cover. You've heard that? Don't just assume you know who somebody is because you've been around them. Take your time, get to know them, be open to surprises, and you may be very happy with what you discover about bad people, and you may be shocked at what you discover about good people.